bag of Skittles.
And that wasn't even a cop.
Exactly. Minding his whole business.
So I'm just saying, where do we draw? What is going on in America? That's what I need to know. Why just being black it's too much for people to handle, apparently. Like, we just too much? We just that great? Is that what it is? Or we offend people? Do we make people uncomfortable? What is it? I mean, somebody say something.
It's nothing new, though.
True.
It's nothing new. It's nothing new, and you know what a lot of people fail to realize is the laws that we have on the books were never for us as a person.
True.
So you can't say we want equality in our justice system when these laws were made and enacted. We were thought of as a problem. We thought it was about it. So you know, it's like, you know, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a level of fear. It's a level of jealousy in some instances. But the thing that is very clear and apparent that the same laws that they allow don't apply to us. It just doesn't.
Well, that we know to be true.
So many different situations where you have an African American who did the same kind of crime or broke the same law and they're dead. And like you were saying with Dylan Roof, this guy got apprehended and taken a lunch and some more stuff. So, you know,
Right.
it's just about, the laws are not for us.
Right. And I think Tanya just mentioned made a good point, and that is, one, we know structural racism, but two, this whole putting us in our place. Like, one thing I will say is that I noticed there's always this sign of policing. Like, they need to police us. And when I say they, I mean, let's be real. It's white people. A lot of times I feel like there's this whole thing about we need to know where we are placed and where we should be. Like, I'm going to show you that you have no right to be here. You have no right to walk your small child in the woods near the house where the taxes you pay on your home. You have no right to do that. You have no right to be being a contractor on somebody's house. You have no right to sit in Starbucks and make a business deal. You have no right to go get prom clothes from Nordstrom Rack. Right. Like, that's what it's come to. You have no rights. And so we're going back to...
Like, it's okay for you to be a worker. It's okay for you to pay your taxes. That's what we want you to do. But don't start to grow.
Right.
Don't start to be great. Like, that's just doing too much.
Right. And it just and it becomes just this like senseless. You almost, what I don't want us to, I just hope we don't become numb. Right. Because
well, I think it's too late for that. We definitely
numb to the situation, like all of the videos that we're seeing.
Oh yeah, I mean, even taking into consideration the woman who called about the barbecue this past Sunday or the Sunday before, I don't remember.
Yo, the meme,
like the fact that your community has to find light in the situation to laugh about it because we're so hurt and tortured and traumatized because of it that now the only way for us to cope is through laughter. So at this point, something that really was a serious situation that was blown out of hand, like blown out of proportion, we're making jokes about because at this point, what else can you do? Like, it's comical at this point to some of the calls and some of the things that they're saying.
But that's the thing. It's like, okay, so you're uncomfortable about a barbecue, right? Because then they calling her Barbecue Becky or Becky Barb, whatever they calling her. And so now you're uncomfortable about us having fun. We can't enjoy ourselves. It's because you can't dance, because you can't braid your hair, because you can't, like, what's the real, we need.
No, but the best part about it was the fact that they had a cookout a few days later. And it was
playing
like
Frankie
a
Beverly.
bigger cookout.
You have
playing
to.
Frankie Beverly and doing an electric slide. Like, I was here for it. I wish I could have.
All things black.
All things black.
And
also, I think a lot of these situations are also being... It's happening to, like she said, put us in our place,
right?
For real. And just to feel fear, you know, to be mentally, you know, damaged for so long, and to have the effects of post-slavery still present today, I think it's all a fear tactic. Like, even with, you know, these mass shootings, you see these mass shootings happening now. People are scared to go to the market. People are scared to go to church. Nobody wants to go to the movie theater. You know, it's almost a way of, you know, mind control in a sense.
Right.
And I believe it's a real thing because I honestly can say that going to the movies is something that is frightening to me. Like, I'm always like looking for the exit. That random person that's by themselves make me nervous, and I know you should be able to enjoy the movie by yourself.
No, you can't.
It bothers me. Like, why you here? Like, what are you wearing? Is it raining and you have, like, do you have on a trench coat? Like, should you have on a trench coat? Is it trench coat weather? Like, I'm very much more aware of my surroundings now because who I'm with, especially if I'm like with family or my nephews. Like, how can I reach you to cover you? Like, what's the escape plan? I'm already mapping that out in my head before I even have my seat and start eating my popcorn.
But I feel like actually as black people, we already are hyper vigilant. Like, that's just what we do. We had to walk around like that. So even though what's interesting to me is that now we are looking at the young white guy who come in the movies with a trench coat on, because to me, honestly, that wasn't always on our radar. True. We just waiting for something to pop off, and we don't know what that may be. But just in general, we always on guard. We ready. You know what I mean? But now it's like now the people who you may not have been paying attention to, I feel like now we do. Because you're right, when I go to the movies, when they even play the video about, make sure don't run, walk. No. There's no walking to the exit of somebody busting off. Right. Like, I'm sorry, who does that? Yes.
We have always been. That is just, one of the effects of that generational trauma that we had.
Right.
Our grandmothers were hypervigilant. Our great-grandmothers was hypervigilant.
Exactly.
So that's just, and I think it runs really deep because it's generational.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've had so many, generations that have had to deal with such horrendous trauma, we're always on 10. We're always hypervigilant wherever we go. We're not. There's never. It's really sad, but our brain is never at a point of rest. Mm-hmm. It's like you only ready when you stay ready, and a lot of us live that way.
Right.
That's actually very exhausting.
It is exhausting because, like Tanya made a good point that the consequences are high blood pressure, diabetes, and all the other stuff that come with just being hypervigilant.
And heart disease.
Right. That's why we die at young ages from heart attack. Mm-hmm. Due to stress,
mm-hmm.
and black women have. I think that's the number one killer for black women is heart disease,
right,
and heart attacks,
right.
Like we are stressing ourselves to death.
Yeah, literally.
True.
But wait a minute. But then I feel like even if we die, somebody gonna come get us and say you should. Like people.
I was just having that conversation with Victoria and Krishna. I said we can't do nothing. You can't even be dead. Sometimes the body still jump.
Right.
It'll. Then it's it's like 5 more shots in you. Like you died of natural causes. Where the bullet wounds come from? Well, I thought
they don't want us to die in peace. I mean, it's just so. So then I was thinking about. So then along those lines, just thinking about, especially having a young daughter where you can't even, I feel like there was a time when the main concern was, okay, sending your black boys out, we concerned about our young black men, which always had been the case. But even when you don't know if your daughter I don't know if I'll come home. I get pulled over by the police. I don't know if I'll come home tonight. You know what I mean? Like, nobody is exempt. Babies or kids. I mean, literally, it doesn't matter who you are. All you got to do is just be black.
Right.
So, also, then I was wondering that we talked about just the whole thing about being black in America means totally different things to different people, right? Because for some people, being black is just a culture. Mm-hmm. Hip hop. It's, how we dance, how we move, our hairstyles. That's one side of it, right, which people love to tag on to that one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the other part when you can't walk the street,
right,
or go shopping, or, sit and have a cup of coffee, or not, or just sit. That's the part they don't want. And so what do we do? What do we do with that? And like, how do we move through and just being black in America? Like, what does that look like?
It's having those uncomfortable conversations. I know people say it all the time, but even like at my full-time job where I am, I had a conversation with my supervisor about pretty much the same thing. It was after the uprising, and it was explaining to her why these black men and women that are coming into the jobs look exhausted. Like, okay, it's just another day for you. The uprising happened, the police came, troopers came to shut the city down for a little bit, and you went back about your married white privilege. Mm-hmm. Whereas though for me, that's not what life looked like. I'm thinking of the consequences that came after. I'm thinking about, what the deaths, the riots, anything else that may have come after as a result of the uprising. Like, and those are the things that I have to now live through. It is the trauma and the anxiety of being married to a black man who is a professor, who does what he's supposed to do, and not knowing if he'll get pulled, knowing he gets pulled over often just because of what he looks like, but don't know when I'm going to get that phone call that says, hey, babe, stay on the phone, and I'm going to hear gunshots on the other end. Like, those are the traumas that we live through on a daily basis. So, yes, it was just one incident for you that you was able to sleep in your house and lay on your pillow and kiss your white baby to sleep and have no problems. But now I have to go home and look at my nephews and think, oh my God, what would I do if this was to happen to you? Because it's very much a reality that this could happen to you. And what does that look like?
And I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine who's a white woman, and the conversation was just that way after during the uprising and that sort of thing. It was about what are those conversations? You know, I really don't want to share this with my daughter. I want to, you know, kind of shield her from this. And I was like, I don't have that privilege to not talk to my child about that, or, you know, the fact that, you know, her father may not come home tonight, or her uncle may not come home, or, you know, it's the chance that she might not come home. Like, these are the realities that just what it means to be black in America, that you may not come home, not because of any of your doing, but because somebody deems you not a person of no value. And so if you're a person of no value, I can throw you away and nobody will ever care. You know what I mean? Another situation is when my brother got shot. My brother got shot out here on the streets of Baltimore, right? The first thing the police say to my mother is not, I hope your son is okay, because it wasn't nothing, he got robbed. It wasn't nothing he was particularly doing. Not, I hope he's okay, we're going to find this person. The first thing they said, we looked and saw he had no record. I'm sorry, do you do that with every white man that comes in, that he has no, he doesn't have a record. But those are the kind of, like, these are the biases and these preconceived notions that people have about young black men of color, that immediately you were doing something wrong. You deserve this. You have no right to just be walking and, you know, someone just, you know, robbed you for no reason, or, you know, like, almost as if it's always our fault, like we're to blame for everything that wrong that happens to us. And I'm just like, we already had a problem, but now I feel like it's a bigger problem.
So, and I agree with V. Like, yes, it's exhausting and you can't live in fear. However, it's you damned if you do, you damned if you don't in a situation, because, okay, you lose this life of this innocent black person, then what? You know, we have a protest, people are in their feelings, we do this for a little bit, you might be on a t-shirt, you might be the next face of whatever next Black Lives Matter movement, and so forth and so on. But then what? What about that family? What about that mother who had to bury that child? What about that child's children, or their friends and their teachers, or the people that, you know, whose lives that person impact? What about them? And how does that trickle down from generation to generation?
Because
and then what happens with, as far as schools and work and everything else is concerned? Like, you here today and you gone tomorrow, and life goes on. It's unfortunate, but it literally does.
It does.
We go to your funeral, we mourn your loss for a few, and then we go back to business like nothing had ever happened. So then what?
And then those people are left with the trauma, I feel like haven't been able to truly grieve, because you got some person who actually loses, you know, 3 people in the family or in the neighborhood in any given week. I mean, this is not normal for somebody to deal with and work through. Like, to grieve properly over someone, it steps to that. It's steps to dealing with, you know, PTSD. It's not one of those things where we just supposed to just get over. And I feel like most of the time America thinks that, i.e. this is America, that what are you still complaining about? That was yesterday.
Because
slavery
was whatever. This label that they put on us that we're so resilient. Oh my God, you're so resilient. You're gonna get through this. You're
at a cost,
from a body of people who have overcome so much. But this is minor, and you're gonna make it through. No, this trauma is generational. Like, it has trickled down from generation to generation. It's nothing that we get over. And every time we get a little leeway, and every time we get a little bit of success, and we come up just a little bit, here you are to step your foot down on us and push us back further.
And I think that one of the things we recognize is that it can't just be us talking about it. And I think that Victoria actually brought up another point about how white people as allies are going to be important, because no movement can move with just black people. I'm sorry. Like, we can get to a certain point, but people don't always want to. It's no different than, you know, the person who, like, if you're constantly saying the same thing because it's us, people think, oh, that's all they always saying. They always talking about that. They always complaining they don't get this and that. But when people who are privileged, who are able to step forward and say, no, this is wrong. I do see this. I recognize this. I know my own biases. I know. If you first have self-reflection, like, can you self-reflect and realize that we all have, shit, I got my own damn biases against black people. Some. I'm just saying, let's keep it real. Like,
that's we like, do. I can't think of this woman's name.
I was going to say, don't say Chris Rock.
Who?
I thought you were going to say Chris Rock.
No.
Okay.
You don't know Chris Rock? I wasn't talking about it.
Okay, sorry.
I was actually doing something else with this.
Don't do that. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Go where you going?
But it was this white woman on, I see her on Facebook all the time. I don't know her name. And if anybody knows it, please feel free to comment it. But she has these workshops and these seminars that she has with majority white folks.
I know you're talking about.
And I remember seeing this one, and Victoria she literally stood in the front of the auditorium and said, which one of you white people here in this audience would want to trade places with a black person?
And what they say?
And nobody said anything. And she's like, okay, well, let me rephrase. Maybe y'all didn't hear the question. Which one of you would like to, for a day, for 24 hours, take a place of any black woman or man? And no one said anything. And she said, you know what's shocking to me is that people get uncomfortable when we talk about the conversations of racism and we act as if it doesn't exist or if it's something that black people just exaggerate and make up in their minds. However, your silence is more powerful than you think it is. Because the fact that you are so in a state of absolutely not, I would never trade a place with a black person, just shows how knowledgeable you are about the racism that really occurs and how ignorant you are because you pretend that it doesn't exist.
Right. And I think that
however,
go ahead.
However, have, you know, so many people in different cultures that, you know, can copy our style, they copy our, you know, our culture.
They want they like the culture.
They want to do all of that, but still be in their own bodies. I still want to be like man, but I don't want to be.
Because you want to mimic everything but our struggle.
They don't know who wants to struggle.
But you want to mimic everything.
That's what I'm saying.
Then you can't say
that was me saying it sarcastically. I was just saying. No, I get it. I'm with you. That was just me chiming in saying, no, struggle. Okay.
No, okay.
No, what I'm saying, you're right. Go, you was on the roll. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I stopped. Go ahead.
The moment is past.
Oh, it has to pass. Tag. I'm
sorry.
But
it's just like even not even as far as the deaths and things are concerned like that. Just being black in America in general. Like we were mentioning the conversation about what is the man name?
Don't say it. Don't call him Danny. Don't call him Danny Glover.
Danny Glover. No, his name ain't Danny. What is his name?
Donald Glover. Childish Gambino. Which he said he's retiring. But okay.
So I know we want to talk about the video.
So we talk about the video and we'll go into the next part of it.
Because
that's the next part of it. You're right. Don't do that. All right. Are you through? I mean, this is why we can't rise as a people.
Because you know how the conversation is. No. You gotta know your people too to know that the conversation gonna start off here.
No, but we're gonna start. No, because we're gonna be able to redirect it. And so we're gonna start with.
Go ahead.
We'll start with the video because I think everybody has been moved by the video for the most part.
The video
alone.
I went to my sister on one I thought was just a normal Saturday. It was a Sunday random. And she literally handed me the phone and said, have you seen the video yet from Game, what is the stage name?
Childish Gambino.
I completely changed that around.
Right.
And I was like, no, I haven't seen the video. And she handed me the phone and was like, watch this.
Right.
And I looked at it and literally after I finished watching, I was just like.
No, I wasn't ready for it. Like, cause I was only seeing clips of it.
I'm gonna need a little bit of time to process this. Okay.
It was a lie.
No, it was a lie.
And you can't just make a comment immediately. Like I needed a minute to kind of digest what I just saw.
So wait a minute. So did you watch the full video flat out, right? Yeah, the first time. Video. So I only saw clips of it at first. And so I saw the clips. And I was like, oh, okay, I gotta find a video. You know. So once I saw it, and I wasn't ready for the beginning. I wasn't ready, and I'm like, okay, this is what we doing now, right? So. First him shooting the dude, and so then I was only paying attention to the dancing because that's all I saw. Remember, I only saw the clips, so all I saw was him dancing. I just saw him performing on SNL. So I was all like,
if you saw that video one time, you haven't seen that video.
No, you haven't. You literally have to watch. I feel like I watched it like 8 times at least to catch the different things going on.
I watched it 4 times. The first time I watched it, I was like, whoa.
Right. Yes. I wasn't ready.
And every time I watched it, I picked up something different. Some things but didn't really know what the meaning was, but because I know what kind of artist he is, I said, I
love his music.
I thought it, like, what was that? But he is so artistic.
He is.
It was very well done.
To see that video play, like the creativity and like that was the most creative expression of art. Like I can't even like wrap my mind around it.
What I loved about it most is that it sparked the conversation. Because if you saw it and I saw it and this person saw it, then everybody came together and was like, so did you notice this? And it's like, no, I ain't see that. Now I gotta go back and watch it again. Oh, what did you get from this? Well, I got that from this. Did you process it like this? Like it was.
And then what'd you say, Jen?
Childish Gambino, Danny Glover was the same person. I thought.
Oh, you didn't know. No, I knew that because I had I have another CD of his, but what's funny is that then I saw my husband sent me a video of these 2 white guys analyzing the video, which I thought was interesting as well because then you got a different take on how they view the that first scene alone. They have a different perspective, and I mean you can take it either way because I mean we all interpret it different ways. So I don't want to break down the whole video. But I will bring up a couple of things, and so you tell me what you thought. Okay. So did you think the first scene with him shooting the guy with the hood on, what did you think that was represented?
So I honestly didn't. That wasn't one of the parts that I picked up on and said, oh, this has to represent this. Okay. That part was so shocking to me that was the part that made me sit still and watch. Okay. Like at first, when the first video, I'm like, okay, okay, let's see what's going on. And he all dancing like, okay, right. What's happening? And that part is what made me be silent, right, and still, okay, and got me focused. So I really didn't process that part until after we started having conversation.
Okay. Now, what did you think of that part, Jennifer?
And what I took from that was you have a black man sitting there playing the guitar, doing something just regular, and then a bag is pulled over his head and he killed, shot from behind. So that, was of black men doing everyday things, everyday normal things, and they get killed, and not seeing, what's going on behind them, which is a big part, the racism, you're doing something regular, but I feel like my life is threatened, so I gotta kill you. That's kind of what I took from it. And it was very shocking. Did not expect that. Like that kind of
that I know.
And I'm like, damn.
So Dorinda said she thought it represented police brutality, and then I was thinking the same thing, just a rant, like you're thinking as well, like a rant. You just sitting there, minding your business, doing it, and from behind, you just off guard, and you get shot.
It's not like you are being aggressive. It's not like you just got into a fight.
Right. You're just sitting there playing the guitar.
An everyday normal thing, and boom, out of nowhere, you're blindsided, your own murder. Like it comes from out of. And then to see how he handles the gun.
Yes, that was another thing. Now Tanya says she thought of strange fruit, which is interesting as well. Because the bag over their head, which also represents, that's how when they lynch people.
Right.
So now,
because you can't do it from face to face. It has to be.
You got to be a punk about it.
Vulnerable and behind your back.
But let me tell you what the white guy in the video said. He thought it represented black on black crime. So that was his perspective as a white person.
Yeah. I hate that. We already talked about it.
No, but I'm saying that's why it's interesting.
V said the same thing. She said the first scene to her represented just that. It was a shock factor in that, and the fact that we are in a war, but we don't see what is actually happening.
That's a good one.
Black on black crime does not exist. It is a term somebody came up with to further demonize it. Every culture and race has against themselves. If you live within a certain vicinity of people who are like you or a culture, there will be crime. So it'll be Chinese people kill Chinese people.
Do they? I'm just
like,
but yeah.
She said you gotta say Asian on Asian, Jennifer.
That exists.
But
No, I'm just playing.
You never.
Oh no, but did you hear what she said? She said it's not. She's saying that if you live within a community, it's going to be you're going to shoot the same like people that look like you.
But it is what it is. If
Diamond saying it. Can you hear him? Go ahead.
But you never hear
if
anybody.
if a woman kills a woman, it's woman on woman crime. You're like, I don't know, it doesn't exist. I mean, I'm just saying.
Who says that?
If you define it.
Who says that?
She's saying
most people define by race.
It's not about.
But the only one
that's
that's been raised
exactly
by
Most people define that by race, though, and so saying black on black crime is a correct statement.
But agree, but you never hear white on white crime.
Wait a
You
minute,
never hear
what are you
Asian
saying?
on
We can't hear
Asian
you.
crime. Like that's just
You
something
never-
that you only hear in the
white
black community.
crime.
Black on black crime, or when referring to the black community.
Yeah, but you can still refer to it the other way.
right. But I think that.
But that doesn't mean that it's not a real thing because it's not used in a sentence a lot.
So I'm not saying like that. So for instance,
Like
I think
teenage
that-
pregnancy.
I
Teenage
think the
pregnancy.
similarity between it being a white person or whomever referring to it as black on black crime can be equivalent to if you see some African American young people protesting peacefully and they call them thugs and heathens or whatever the case
It's
is.
code word.
But yet, if you see some white men or some white women leaving a baseball game
With
and
tiki
team
tor-
laws
with tiki
and
torches?
they burning stuff and throwing bricks through the police cars and hanging from the light poles, then they're just excited and don't know how to express themselves properly. So why isn't that them being thugs and heathens and everything else? What is the difference between it? Is nothing but race. You're gonna sit there and try to make it seem like, oh, black on black crime happens all the time. It's just this sad thing. No, this is what happens in the white communities. I could tell you this happens numerous times in Dundalk, but you don't hear about it like you hear about it around on East Baltimore, Greenwood Avenue, Fulton Avenue, North Avenue, the same way you hear about it then in those communities.
Right.
So
So I think that that's what basically is the point, that when it comes to black people being black in America, there's code words. There's code phrases that are used to again marginalize us. To me, like if you say black on black crime, we all know that if I look like you, I mean there's no secret that happens in whatever neighborhood.
Right.
But the real thing is how media portrays it. And so if that is the reason why you never hear white on white crime, is the same reason why you never hear about white violence in general. Mm-hmm. Like nobody ever talks about the fact that those are the most white people that are the main people who commit what I want to say.
I mean, it is
You know
violent crime.
No.
Violent crime.
Hold on.
Shooting up the workplace.
Or serial killers. That's what I meant.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
to say that it's something that's not, we have to look at a little bit bigger. Let's look at the scope a little bit bigger. If you go outside of this country and you talk about other places, they do the Kurds killing this.
Yeah.
It is said. So we got to stop looking at things on a local, small little level. If you go around the world, in Europe, in Eurasia, in all of these Muslim countries, they do refer to the genocide of people as the people killing the people.
No,
you know what I mean?
We get that part, but
So let's not act. We focus on little words.
Terrorism. Why is it that they're not called out when they're doing their mass shootings? It's not considered terrorism when that's exactly what it is.
It is.
Okay.
It is. And so,
but we can't focus on.
No, that wasn't a focus.
That's like you let him do it, but you didn't let me do it.
No,
Let's get to the issues.
It's about how you portray us in media to be these monsters, to be these inhumane, just crazy like beings that then justifies that white officer for saying, "Oh, I was in fear for my life because it was a black man."
I'm gonna give you.
That just gives us
promise.
these like supernatural abilities that we can just snatch your head off and kill you in the blink of an eye, so you can instantly say that you were in fear for your life when you're in my presence. Because I opened my mouth and told you, and most of the time it's not even just having a conversation between two decent people saying, no, I don't agree with you. Most of the time it's me saying, you know what, you're in your feelings, let me walk away, and next thing you know, I'm shot in the back. That's the difference. So that's not.
But let me give you a prime example of that is the opioid epidemic. Right now, it's the opioid epidemic, and it's a public issue right now. because you have a lot of Caucasian people who are ODing and they're, committing these crimes under the influence of opioid drugs. However, when we were struggling with it, brown and black people, we were criminals. We were
yeah. I mean, it's been proven that during the crack, especially during the crack epidemic, that it was addressed within the criminal justice system opposed to a public health issue. And so, of course, really what it is not that I think, Diamond, really what the issue is, we're not saying that black on black crime doesn't exist, and we're not saying that white on white crime doesn't exist, and we're not saying that Asian on Asian crime doesn't exist. We know those things to be true. Right. But what we're saying is how it's viewed in the public eye and in the media, it becomes code word. And I
have a problem with a couple of things that y'all saying.
Okay.
For so long, we look at what other people say as the. You put the in front of it. What? The media. That's white media, right? The awards, like if it's the BET Awards, it's just some bullshit. But if it's the Grammys, it's the award show. You understand what I'm saying? So we put too much emphasis on how we're portrayed in other communities. Who gives a fuck?
But they give a fuck.
Fuck them. Fuck them. We gotta stop focusing on what other people think and fix the issues that we have.
You may not agree, but for the majority of white America who was watching the Grammys, the BET Awards, the Fox News, if this is your only interaction, this is your only introduction to me as a black person, period, and I'm only being ever portrayed to you as a thug and to be intimidated by, that I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to harm you, that every time I talk, I can only do this, and that I'm not educated and I can't hold my own. If that's the only introduction you've ever had of me, when you're in a position where you're around me, then that's going to cause you to fear your life. If I'm telling you that if you go down south a little further, that all you're going to be greeted by is Klansmen in white robes, and that's all you're going to ever see, and they're going to kill you and lynch you, then it's a possibility that as a black person, you may never go down south, and you may never get to realize, oh my goodness, that's not all that's there, that there's a great community of people who are loving and caring. Because if
we have to stop this. If I could tell Kanye West one thing, is what I'm getting ready to say right now, is applying to what you're saying. We have to stop chasing white acceptance. Let them think what they're going to think. We have to fix our issues. Fuck what they think. There's no black people in Idaho. There's no black people in Idaho. You're not going to be able to change what those people think. So stop even thinking about it.
But you know what it is it becomes, to me the issue is, I get that. We don't have to worry about what they think.
Because we never get to the solutions. We always talk about, what do the people think about us?
That's not the promised land. That used to be the promised land.
A lot of people think that it is.
Kay is talking about something completely different from what we're talking about.
I feel the same way.
She said she thinks.
Because I feel like
I don't.
Christian and I just literally had that conversation. If we want to pretend that our bias don't exist, and that we don't discriminate against people, things, whatever the case is, that's not true.
Right.
We all
Everybody does.
Everybody does it.
And it's never going to change.
I have no problem with Bob the racist. I don't. If Bob the racist doesn't want to be in my presence, fine. If Bob the racist doesn't want to eat from a fork that I've eaten from,
he doesn't.
Clean he don't have to. And I have no problem with that. Bob can sit in his wherever and do whatever and never acknowledge me. That's fine. However, I have a problem with Bob killing me, killing members of my family. I have a problem with Bob now influencing people around him so that my family can't get a job and my family can't eat. I have a problem with Bob calling the police on my innocent brothers and sisters who are doing absolutely nothing but trying to live. That's my issue with Bob. So it's not so much of being accepted in the white media. I could care less about what white media thinks of me. My thing is,
that's not what you just said 5 minutes ago.
No, but you have to be careful about what you say out of your mouth and to who you say it to, because those things have consequences. The consequences of white media portraying us the way they do is that, like I said, these officers being able to constantly get off with the "I was in fear for my life." It does have an effect.
That's not white media. That's the laws that they have on the books. But there's a couple things that affect that. But ultimately, it comes back to something which is unification, which we never talk about. We have to be unified as a group of people. First, that's first and foremost. We are completely divided. Some niggas want acceptance from white people. Some people don't. Some people want to be thugs. Some people don't. Like, it's so many different things that we're completely divided because everybody got their own ideas.
But they do. But so, and are we not going to recognize that's something historical?
Which
like
part?
We are the one, huh?
Which part is historical?
The reason why we're divided. Like, there's a reason why.
That's true.
Even within, as far as history,
the division is how we got in this country in the first place.
Exactly. I totally agree.
And we still doing the same shit.
I totally agree. I think we all on the same page.
We on the same page for that.
Yeah. But what we're saying is that even within the divisions, I don't think that we all need to think alike either. That's totally fine.
I think we need a goal, but there could be various ways to get there.
There can be various ways to get there, but I also think that we forget that how complex people. I mean, we're human at the end of the day, and people are complex. So just because I may believe I may like this or have a view on this, that doesn't mean that excludes me from being able to support this and support that. So we can't.
It stops us from winning, though.
No, but listen. But what I'm saying is, you gotta come with the collective. Is not a one way of thinking. Because if we get caught up on that, then that's to say that just because, moving into our next conversation, that because I am a black man and I'm woke, then now I can't date outside my race. Because if there's only one way of getting to whatever, then that, I think,
is that the conversation y'all gonna have?
That's where we going.
Good.
Because I think that's where
we meant to talk about that yesterday and it didn't.
I mean, I think that's
forgot
a problem.
about it, but I'm glad because I got a lot to say.
I give you a good example, Diamond. I can tell you for a fact that when the first movement or shift into natural hair, there was a select group of women who had an issue with any woman who had a perm, as if you're not black enough. No, I'm
some of them still got that.
Yeah. But I'm saying it has evolved. Mm-hmm. But there was a time when being natural meant that made you black. No, it doesn't. Not at all. Because, I mean, so then you can get into, I know a lot of natural women who wear natural hair, got locks and everything, but they're married to a white guy. So that doesn't make you less black? No. So what I'm saying is that we cannot get stuck on the fact.
So is there anything that can make you less black?
Is there anything that can make you
Because it sounds like you're saying nothing can make you less black.
Oh, you are.
I think you definitely are who you are. I don't know about less black. I'm just saying that was the mindset. That you only, if having a perm, having a weave meant some lesser down of blackness.
Yeah, because they think that it means that you're not embracing the natural texture of your hair and you're trying to be more European.
I'm sorry, people not understand the complexity of having natural hair. I'm just saying, is anybody gonna talk about that? How hard it is.
I mean, because if that's the case, anytime you comb your hair, you take the blow dry, you get it as straight as possible so you can get your cornrows nice and tight or whatever the case is, that's still manipulating your natural hair. Right. So just because you don't have a perm in it doesn't make it...
But why does that then mean? So that's what I'm saying. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about not natural hair because that's a whole nother conversation. We're not going there. But I'm saying the whole thing about being woke and being for the cause and being for the culture and understanding what's going on in America, and you have decided to be with someone in a different race. Mm-hmm. Is that okay? Is that not okay? Like, what's the? I mean, because that's been the beef that people have with Childish Gambino, aka Donald Glover.
So can you be pro-black and married to someone that is not black?
Absolutely.
I think you can.
How,
if
Sway?
you see injustice going on somewhere,
how, Sway?
There's an issue.
That's not possible.
You don't think so?
No, I don't.
You not be pro? I don't.
No, I don't.
Hold on, Jen.
Yeah, I don't.
Pause for the cause.
He's saying that you can't
flag on the black.
So why? How come you can't be? How can you be pro black and marry an Asian person?
Easy, very easy.
I'm about to say, I need that explanation.
Very easy. So, okay.
Come on, Lee. We got extra mic.
If we talking about that, first of all, let's define what pro-black is, and maybe you can answer your own question.
There you go.
Maybe you can answer your own question with this. So let's define what pro-black is first.
Okay.
Come on, let's no. Let's just talk. Let's talk about it first. Let's talk about it first.
What does it mean to be?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you. What does pro-black mean to you?
So, my personal opinion, to be pro-black is to be in support of
support
into agreement and alignment and support of things that are of my blackness and my culture.
Okay, so I'm gonna dissect it. Let's dissect this a little bit more.
Okay.
The word pro. When we put the prefix pro in front of something, you're a professional athlete, pro athlete. Now you could be an athlete because what you describe is just an athlete.
Right.
When you put the word pro in front of it, that is more than an athlete. That's not just somebody playing basketball. That's someone who makes their living. That's LeBron James, a professional athlete.
We got
That's not
we
the
got
whole. Okay, so exactly. So
I got
using the word pro in front of it, you didn't describe pro.
So what makes him a pro?
It means that this is somebody who goes above and beyond.
So what
this
does the
is
pro mean?
not
The
just
pro
a
mean
regular.
He gets a check for it. What does the pro mean? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
He's saying that you're a professional at so it's no.
You embody it.
It's everything about you
Yes.
is blackness.
So
And if you're married to somebody of the opposite sex, you automatically
So
disqualify.
as a pro
the opposite
athlete,
sex.
everything.
I mean, the opposite
everything
race. I'm
you-
sorry, another race. I'm sorry.
Everything you do, breathe, and live is on the level of your professional athletic abilities. Is that what I'm understanding?
I'm saying pro athletes retire.
So pro
Right.
athletes should only
Okay.
worry about
So-
pro athletes?
so
What
you're
do
not-
they become when they retire?
So what does what
A retired pro athlete.
that doesn't
You're a
marry
retired
a
athlete.
pro athlete or doesn't marry a person who does not understand what it means to be an athlete. So I can be a makeup artist and have a little show on Facebook, and I can't marry a pro athlete.
You can- and
because
you
I
can
don't
marry the
understand
plain
the-
Jane.
No, you can't. You can marry a plain Jane.
Okay.
You
Right.
can.
But what
That's
does that
not
mean
gonna.
with the
That's not
profession?
going to. That's
does
not
like
going
plain
to
Jane.
affect. That's not going to affect your. That's not going to affect your skill set
Right.
on the court because
So wait, pause.
your
Before you finish-
definition.
before you
Because the
finish, before you
definition
finish, wait,
is
Diamond,
not
Diamond,
your lifestyle.
Diamond,
Hold on.
Sure,
Diamond,
sure.
Hold on, bro.
Diamond. So what you just said was,
Uh-oh.
you
What'd he
marrying
say?
a
What'd he
plain Jane does not make you any less
Of an athlete.
Of a pro athlete.
Pause.
That it does
This
not
is such an
affect your
elementary
ability
argument that you're trying to make. Let me debunk what you're trying to say because
Why you gotta debunk
it's
it?
ridiculous.
Did I
It's
say it?
ridiculous.
I mean, that's what he said. That's what he
No, but
I'm saying,
don't
he
take.
said what he said.
So let me clarify for people who wants to take every word literal. These are not
You have
two parallel things.
Okay.
The athlete is a professional athlete because he makes his living playing sports.
Right, yeah.
Said sport.
Right.
Now that's not a lifestyle. He doesn't have to live on a court. He can live somewhere wherever he wants to live.
Right.
It's only his pro prefix is applied to the sport.
Okay.
Now, in the case we're speaking about, pro black, it's not about sports. Clearly, it's about the culture, the lifestyle of being black. That's his sport.
Right.
If you are married to a white girl or an Asian girl or somebody who's not black, you are going against the fundamentals of your pro label.
I absolutely 125% disagree with that.
I know.
So let's okay, hold on. Flag on the play. So if being pro-black, well, let's take off the pro for a second. Because how does being married to someone outside of your race affect your blackness, right? Let's sit right here for a second. And I'm bringing this up because I can truly admit
It doesn't affect your blackness.
Let me hold on.
Only pro-black.
Can I talk about it?
Sure.
Okay. So I will be the first to admit, and anybody who knows me knows that I had always had an issue with interracial dating, in the sense of
Growing up?
growing up. And a lot of it had to do with my upbringing, being raised in a house where it really wasn't accepted.
It was frowned upon.
It was frowned upon. So that was a part of it. But the other part was...
Why was
let
it
me
frowned
say-
upon?
Listen. Well, one, because being raised in a house with my grandparents, that was a no-go. Why? Because of their history and what was passed on to me, right?
I wanted you to
that's
say that.
One thing, right? Second, as I became an adult, the reason why I frowned upon it was because of my own issue. And what that issue was no longer...
Experiences?
Listen. No, not experiences. But it was no longer my grandparents' views, it was my view. and how I view myself as if, and what I think a lot of women do when it comes to interracial dating, when you see a black guy who will we deem as whatever status he is, dating a white woman, as if we're here and they're here, as if we have as if this is the bottom as a black woman, and now he's moved up and his glow up is being with a white person. So I will be the first to admit that was my view, and I think that was a false way of looking at how I view myself and then the relationship. And part of that comes with insecurity.
So you don't feel like that now?
I don't. And I'll explain.
Do you think little girls feel like that?
Feel like what?
What you just...
They totally feel like that.
All the more reason why a pro-black person wouldn't and shouldn't do that. The maturity of you can look at it from a different perspective, but growing up, it infects the minds of people who don't. Everybody don't have your insight.
No, I get it, but let me tell you this: I'm not saying that even when I still see, what bothered me the most about it was when I hear a black man say, the reason why I date her is because the bad experience I had with a black woman, and I'm saying to myself, if that's the case. None of us should be dating, because who haven't had a bad experience with a black person or a white person, whoever that in that
just
sense.
hasn't had a bad experience,
right? Just with anybody.
Everybody has.
And so don't give me. I don't want to hear if that's the reason why you choose to date someone white. If you fall in love with who you fall in love with, but don't use me as the reason why. Because black women didn't date me.
I hate that. I hate that expression. What does that mean? Fall in love with who you fall in love with?
I'm still confused about the pro-black thing.
I'm just saying. I had to say.
No, but tell me when you say fall in love with who you fall in love with.
You fall in love with who you fall in love with. Like I can't. Like you can't.
You can
Wow.
control. Okay,
No,
so you can control. There's certain things that's gonna be off limits. Okay, if you find out, listen, if you see that guy right there is a sex offender, right, and you know it, right. You ain't messing with him. I'm just saying that you can disqualify something if you choose to.
But what if you don't know this person is a sex offender? What if this person was a sex offender?
And you fell in love with him. And that happens all the time.
Has done this his time or whatever, has been rehabilitated.
You having children, you would still date him when you found out?
This person
and you fell in love.
in another place at another time in
Fine,
another
and you
state
didn't
of
know,
life,
and you didn't know.
You did not know, and I fell in love
What about
with
when
this
you find
person for
out?
being this person.
But when you find out,
I'm sorry,
but that has nothing to do with your heart. Like if you're honestly, sincerely in love with this person, you don't then just turn that off because what was your past? You used to be a gangbanger.
I think you should actually. I disagree with that sentiment.
Google and all that, we should not be dating sex offenders.
So if you date a guy who lied about his marital status and you find out, you can't cut him off.
Then it's the case of
you choose to stay, but you can't.
Okay.
You can urinate in a public place and be labeled as a sex offender. So what the hell does that mean? It's so much bigger than that. That the labels that you. If you are a male or female and you pee in a pussy, why not?
But wait a minute, hold on.
You absolutely.
Let's get back to the issue at hand. Let's go back. Let's bring it down a notch.
I just don't understand the pro-black part and why.
Back to what you're saying about the pro-black part. Let's revisit that. I just had to put that out there because I needed people to let people know that you can evolve and your way of thinking. And so I think that sometimes at least for black women, I can't speak for how black men feel, but as black women, I think we have to understand that just because someone chooses or would rather date a white woman, that doesn't make you any less. And so I think sometimes we get stuck on the fact that because now he's a ball player, a pro athlete, now. So
you're saying the black baller who only dates white girls, he still has his pro-black card, even though he says he doesn't date white women? Is that what you're saying?
No.
I want to make sure I'm understanding.
No, I didn't. No, I was saying that doesn't. I was speaking to women, saying that.
Well, flip it on him. The black ball player who only dates white women, is he still pro-black?
So why is it that the pro-black?
Can you not be down for blackness and dates
white women? Is it something that he said?
That's what I'm asking you. Yeah, but there's plenty of entertainers and athletes who have said that.
Exclude those people.
No, let's not exclude them.
No,
answer that question.
No, I'm saying exclude the people that you and I said we have an issue with. I want to exclude those people. Exclude the people who say I only date because of.
How can you can.
That's a whole nother.
No, you can't. You can't dissect it.
So we can't exclude Sammy Sosa?
No, we can't, because my thing is that Sammy Sosa is Spanish anyway. So we ain't talking about Sammy Sosa.
But he black though.
Okay, listen. What I'm saying is the black athlete that only dates white women.
Okay.
Y'all using y'all definition, he's still pro-black. His blackness is still not in question, which to me,
you saying it
is crazy for y'all to say. But I was
because
hoping.
you're going to somebody who only dates. If you're only dating,
what if he dated that?
So
nothing,
race of people. So nothing can question your pro-blackness if you're black. Is what y'all saying?
I think if I'm me as a black woman, I have a black husband. If my husband and I don't work out and I find a white man who is really good to me, who I fall in love with, and I marry this man. However, I can still come out and about and say,
and still be black.
These are the injustice, these are the discriminations that my people face, and these are wrong. These are something that I feel like we have to fight against. Like Krishna said in the beginning of this segment, if you are black people gathering together fighting this battle alone, you ain't going nowhere. But if you have somebody that's behind you, whether it's another race, whether it's another sex, whether it's another culture, whatever, that's helping push forth your agenda, then you get a little further. So if my white now husband is saying, I completely agree. I've been around, situations where, yes, I've seen these injustices happen. And I think that it's completely ridiculous, because let's not be ignorant and make it seem like all white people are racist and don't care about the decency of human life, period. So if that's the case, and I'm saying that this is something that we're doing, and I'm still fighting for the cause of my people, it makes me less black because I fell in love with somebody.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. So
yes,
wait,
does.
What did Nikki say?
Irritated because that man that's not black can't relate to what you're going through.
But what does that?
But hold on, you're not on mic. You're not on the mic.
Hold on.
But listen,
but
you still are black, but
for you to say that this person can't possibly understand where I'm coming from.
He can't.
They haven't been in a situation where they've seen them. Now, granted, they can't. That's like a man can't tell me about childbirth and saying, "Oh my gosh, yes, I know exactly what that feels like." No, you don't.
He can't. But that's the same.
I can see your body go through a change, and I can see a
Time to call back. I had the
through
window
your
closed.
vagina with the screaming.
Listen. A white supremacist.
Hold on. We got here. What you say, Jen?
I think everyone needs to take a deep breath. Let's take this.
Yeah, we ain't gotta hear what she gotta say. A white supremacist can't be a white supremacist and marry a black person. It's going all the white people. It doesn't work. It works both ways.
So that's what you're saying. So you're saying to be pro-black is to be what? Racist?
Right.
No.
Against others? That's what you're saying.
I'm not. I'm just giving you another example.
You can't be for anything that's white. You can't be for anything that's not according to your culture, period.
No, that's not true. That's not true. What I'm saying is this. If you are a vegetarian, right? There's certain things that if you eat, you are no longer a vegetarian.
Right. We agree.
And if you are pro-black, there's certain things you can do that no longer make you pro-black. There it is.
And you're married to somebody who's not a vegetarian, does that mean you don't cook in the house? Does that mean I can't cook anything? It's what you consume in your body. Right. So if this other person,
and if you are consuming pork.
Okay, hold on. What you saying, Jen?
And that means
I don't get it.
Childish, with dating the white woman and him being quote unquote pro-black, you can definitely be for the cause and the advancement of the people who of the culture that you belong to, and date someone that's not of their culture. There's nothing wrong with that. However, I want Mr. Don McKay, who has such a strong opinion in the background about
Victoria's on.
How are you different being pro-black than anti-Semitic or a person who is screaming white power? What's the difference?
That's my point.
The problem that I'm having with explaining with y'all is I love to give analogies. Now, analogy it's not always going to be apples. I'm trying to get you to see a particular mindset as opposed to make the two things identical, because they're not identical, right? But what I'm trying to get y'all to see is that y'all refuse to define pro-black, first of all. But
you are to define pro.
No, he's saying.
I said y'all didn't give me a definition. I want to hear what y'all definition of pro-black is. I don't even think y'all have one.
I told you what my definition of pro-black was.
Am I on the line?
Yes, you're on the line.
Okay, hey y'all. I'm used to all my devices. My Wi-Fi is this and that, and I'm trying to connect. Y'all got me riled up. So, to your point, Diana, as far as the defining pro-black, I think that's where we're running into the problem. Because as I just wrote on a thing, it's not up to us in a room to come up with a definition of what pro-black means, because then we're going to just put somebody in a box. So, because I grew up with people saying that I wasn't black enough, right? Because I listen to certain types of music, or because I talk a certain way, right? Or because my hair looks a certain way, or because I dance, or whatever. So if we start coming up with our individual definitions, or we come up with one standard of what it means to be pro-black, then we're running into problems already, right? Because it's up to the person to decide for themselves what that means for them, right? Because just like with pro-choice, you could say you're pro-choice, and the problem that we end up having with that argument of pro-choice versus pro-life, we end up putting people in boxes to say, well, if I'm pro-life, then I can't do this, and I can't think that, and I can't do whatever when it comes to life itself or abortion or whatever. But if I'm pro-choice, right, then people just assume that, okay, well, you're just for people dying. Like, you just want people to die, and you want, like, you're okay with death and all that kind of stuff. When we're really just saying we're okay with people having choices. But the people who are pro-choice have to define that. The people who are pro-life can't define for them what pro-choice means. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the fact that we're trying to figure out, well, what does it mean to be pro-black, we've already messed up the discussion.
So your scenario is there is no definition for anything. So a good student, you can't define because there's no definition, because it's 65 or 70 or 68. Who cares, right? No definition or nothing. So no child left behind.
No,
Wonderful.
She ain't how I gather is what she's saying is the same thing, because I was thinking that if you go with that argument of between pro-life and pro-choice, if we going with pro-black and all that, think about it. It is a good one. Thank you, V. Because but
there's definitions of both.
But listen, let me tell you something. But those same people who say they are pro-life have no problem with giving somebody the death penalty. So if you're pro-life, you can't be pro-life.
But listen, but here's the thing. But you're absolutely right. Listen, you are absolutely right. They are not pro-life. But listen, they're lying, just like Childish Gambino. They're lying. They're lying.
She was right there. So I just Googled pro.
Oh, somebody just Googled something.
Google, what does pro mean?
An argument or evidence of affirmation, an affirmative side, or one holding to it, in support of
blackness. Okay. So that's what it means.
Is that not what I just said?
Right, but if we start getting into the minutia of that, what I'm talking about is, yes, you're right, Diamond, in that there are definitions for both pro-life and pro-choice. But if I'm saying that I'm pro-life, I can't then go and tell you what your definition of pro-choice is, because you can say that you're in support of choice, but then if I start coming up with the individual minutia categories, etc.,
it's really simple though.
I'm in
if you're pro-life,
and that's what I'm saying. So for us to say that somebody can't say that they're pro-black and then be married to somebody that's not black,
right? No, it's just, okay, so wait a minute, Victoria, hold on. Okay, let's say if you're pro, hold on 1 second. So
if you're pro-life, are you getting an abortion?
No, not according to their definition.
No, I'm saying,
but they don't have. What I'm saying is,
but they pick and choose what they want. So that's that's the pro-black person that's married to a white girl. That's wrong. No. That's the thing. You picking and choosing. I'm pro-black about the clothes I buy, but I'm a screw every white girl.
But hold on.
You ain't pro-black.
But let me tell you something. You want me to tell you how you? But hold on. But then if you want to go there, then that means that everything you buy is black. Everything that the store you go to is black. You only support black businesses. You only go to a black school. You only work at a black-owned business. Like let's not even go
because I'm 90% sure.
Is that bad? Is any of the things you said bad?
The black person is probably the person who made that change you wear. The black person is probably the one that made those sneakers you have.
But I'm saying this. I'm saying the basics. Let's deal with the basics. Let's deal with the basics. Who you're married to is a basic, okay? That you may not have a black toothpaste, right? But if you can't have the 5 basics, you can't have a basic thing, then you're defeating his purpose.
So y'all about to get a whole bunch of phone calls.
Well, that's what's up.
Hello.
Because he's starting stuff.
That's what's up. All these people married to white girls.
Who was that?
Who calling?
Come on, all the white girl lovers call. No, I didn't put them through.
Oh.
Because I didn't want to hang up on.
Oh, Victoria.
Yeah.
All right, Victoria, you gotta let somebody call in.
Okay, I'll hang up.
Hang up on her? No, can't hang up on her.
Okay, so everybody. Okay, so let's come back to where we at of being black in America.
So I feel like if you are in support of your cause, so I feel like this. Do you, if there is a black man who has grown up in a black community by black parents and understand the struggle of being black in America, and this person decides or has fallen in love with someone of the opposite race, whether it's white or whomever, whatever other race, if they fall in love with this person, but yet they still decide to advocate for the advancements of the African American community, do you then not support this person in their pro-blackness because of that thing? So this person could be the one person to change the world. This person could possibly be that one person who, no, I'm talking about this black person. This black person could be the one that could possibly do everything that we need to do to change the world. This could be the one, this could be the first, Barack Obama, the first black president, but we was too busy worried about the fact that you didn't come from two black parents, so we can't support you in your blackness as a black president because you ain't black enough, you ain't pro-black.
I just think that
I think it just seems like it's
and I think that I feel like, especially as we have so many things to worry about as a people, that I think who people marry to me is right now really is on this side of it. When we got so many things to address as a community.
Y'all want to take this?
Yeah, we can take it. Somebody's on.
Tanya, how are you?
Hello.
Hello.
Who do we have?
Hello, Village. Hello. Y'all have me heated over here. I had to call in. In. Am I there? Hey.
Is that Dr. Sharp?
I think it is.
It is.
Professional Dr. Sharp. Welcome.
Thank you. So I just wanted to circle back to the beginning of the conversation because I kind of felt like I was in This Is America, the video, the actual video, because I think we've gotten bogged down in distractions of who should date who and how and what the definition of X, Y, and Z is. When we started this conversation, we were talking about the black bodies that have been murdered, the black bodies that continue to be ignored, the black bodies that have been brutalized and victimized while going into Starbucks or the Waffle House. And what Krishna brought to bear into the conversation, which I appreciated, was this whole idea of what I refer to as and many others refer to as disenfranchised grief. That grief and loss and violence and victimization happens so frequently in our communities that black folks don't even have a chance to catch their breath. We talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. There is no post for black people because it happens so frequently. And so what it becomes is this vicious cycle of violence and victimization for us. We not only are tracked down and hunted down, and then we're murdered, but then when we talk about going to clinical resources for care, we often face issues of discrimination, so forth and so on. And so that cycles out and feeds into a lot of what we see in terms of obesity and heart condition and so forth in our communities. And those are the kinds of things that I think we need to bring up into the conversation and continue to bring up into the conversation, because otherwise all of this other stuff that we're having conversations is distractions. So in the one sense, I do believe that we have to come together as a collective and continue to have those conversations about the impact of what's happening in our communities.
Totally. Thank you, Dr. Sharp. Yeah, you're right. I think that, and that's what I'm saying. Like, and so what I think derailed the conversation, even as in the This Is America video, was then it was this backlash of who is he to now be speaking on all that's going on as a black man in America, and now you got this white woman on your side and you got these, biracial kids.
Even though what you said, before I knew who you were dating, I completely stood behind.
Right, and now I can't.
100% in alignment with you, but now that I know who you're dating,
I have to question your motives, and then I have to question your motives, and so it comes down to motives.
Christian brought up a good point again, is that does someone's pain about their cousin being murdered or their son being murdered or their people being murdered and who they're married to take away from their pain and wanting to express that and share that with the world? I don't think so. I don't think it takes away from them feeling the same way they do because they are a black person. Yes, sometimes it's hard to see and all the other stuff of it, but I don't think it takes away from how they feel about what's happening to them as a people, to us as a people.
What's her name?
Dr. Sharp.
Dr. Sharp, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So you said it doesn't take away from their pain, and I agree with that. But what about the impact that it has on people who may not have the security level? You know what I mean? That look at the person dating the person outside of the race, the effect that it has on them.
I mean, I think that is an issue with the individual who's looking at that person and saying, this is reflecting poorly upon me. I mean, it's kind of what Krishna said in terms of the fact that, you know, I take issue when I'm fine with somebody dating outside of their race, but I take issue when you say, I prefer to date white women over black women because black women cause me too much grief. Black women do this and that, the other thing. But when you are loving who you love and you still can be down with the just cause of the people and be true to yourself, then that's fine. But if a person takes issue with that just because I can't receive the message of empowerment and the message of let's really look at what's happening behind the mirror or behind the curtain based upon what they feel about interracial dating, then that's a problem, that's a personal problem for them.
I agree with that. You can take a message. I'm just saying that they come down several pegs because of that. Mm-hmm. They can still be genuine in thought, and they can still have good points and be good for the movement and all that. But it just takes you down. In my opinion, it takes you down because you're not living. It's like you telling me not to smoke, but you got a fug in your mouth.
But one of the things that you said is that we have to come together as a collective, right? So we can't pick and choose who we include or don't include in the collective.
Do you honestly believe in the idea of unity? Do you honestly, sincerely believe in the idea of wanting equality? And if that's the case, because even when we were talking about
equality,
even if you were talking about white media, if you honestly, sincerely believe that the problem is unity, that we need to stop focusing on what this institution or these people are thinking and worry about us being united.
I believe that we need to have our own outlets. We need to do our own recognizing. I believe that you know, whoever can have whatever they want, and I think that we need to stop trying to be included and accepted by other people.
So you believe that we should?
I believe that 100%.
No, you saying united as? Are you saying united as whether black, white, whatever? You saying united in that sense?
We need to be united in that thought, in the thought of not chasing acceptance from other people. So we need to be united in that mindset. We also need to be. Go ahead.
I agree that we need to be. We don't need to chase down someone else's approval, so forth and so on. But, and so I agree with you. I totally agree with you. But we do need to recognize the structural racism that is at play that impedes upon systems that we operate in, and how that then affects whether you get a promotion, whether you get a loan, whether you go to school with a good education, whether you have decent books. I'm not saying we need to blame, so forth and so on, but we do need to look at those structures that impede upon our ability to have our own thing.
I see where you're going, and that's my issue. My issue is this: that mindset, that racism is going to be there. We can't change that. We have to create our own systems. So we can't. You're not going to be able to go in and clean up that racism, because it's when one of those old guys dies, it's another one born, and it's a never ending thing. What you have to do is we have to build our own stuff. Period. So that's it.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's it. We know the racism is there, and it's a baby just born right now, some racist baby born right now.
Not worry about what people think and how they feel. That you should
focus
and focus on those things that are about improving you as a person, us as a community, us as a if that is sincerely how you feel,
100%.
That means I shouldn't be concerned about the ideas or the views of someone who may think that I'm less black because of who I love.
No,
however, I should continue on with my agenda on making those who look like me better. I should continue with my agenda.
Well, you couldn't do. You can't. It's difficult to do that if you with the white person.
And I'm not saying it was going to be a
it's very difficult.
And I'm not saying that people aren't going to look at me a certain kind kind of way because of it. However, if this is my mission and this is something that I've set out to do, and I'm not worried about what you think about me, then I can still love this person and still go ahead with my agenda. That's all I'm saying.
And I think that if we, I think as Dr. Sharp was saying that, you know, I do think we come together as a collective. Can we be on the same page in terms of as a black community coming together and saying with an agenda, right? And the agenda doesn't have to be the how can we get in with white, because that, to me, that's besides the point. I really think that most of the time we don't even know what the agenda is. And I think that with this conversation, I think we realize that it's so much work to do. But again, like Dr. Sharp said, and I think like Jennifer said, and we've all said, that the distractions are who I'm dating. Right. The distractions are what white media is saying. The distraction when all of these things are happening.
Not the praise that should be had, because we had this thing that allowed us to have these uncomfortable conversations. And I feel like anybody who's watching, anybody who has shared this video, anybody who's glanced over for 5 seconds, if you can't take anything else away from this segment that we've had tonight, is to have those uncomfortable conversations. Have them at your Thanksgiving dinner table with people who look like you and who were, that you were raised with. Have those uncomfortable conversations with people that don't look like you. And that's the only way you're going to ever get over that and bridge those gaps, is if you start making people uncomfortable, shaking it up, and understand what's going on in the minds of each individual person that makes them have the type of bias that they have. We won't know. I can't tell you how you feel and what's going on in your mind unless I have a conversation with you. So let's break these barriers down and continue having this conversation.
Mm-hmm. And
y'all better talk about my blackness when I get my Italian husband, okay?
All right now, Italian man. But I think that this was a great conversation. I think we, of course, it always can continue.
Yes.
But we have to wrap it up, and I think that, like you're saying, share, like have these conversations with people, and don't limit yourself. And I think just as if like Diamond has his own opinion, that doesn't make me feel any whatever about him, and I'm sure it's mutual. It's just a conversation, and you can have your views. All I'm saying is, when your views allow someone to be dead on the street, then we have a problem. Absolutely. So with that said, we signing off, y'all. I'm Krishna.
I'm Kristen.
And we'll see you, and we'll be back with Victoria.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Jen. Not driving in the car now.
I'm about to say, because she was just sitting down in the dining room. What just happened? Hey, Mackenzie Boo.